The arena lights dimmed, and in an instant, a thunderous roar erupted from the crowd. It was the kind of roar only one man in rock history could summon. Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness, walked onto the stage with his signature grin, raising both arms like a general commanding his army of fans. Spotlights cut across the arena, illuminating thousands of faces. Teenagers, lifelong fans, metalheads, even families. Everyone was united by one thing, the love of pure, raw rock and roll. Ozzy grabbed the mic stand, twisted it like a ritual, and shouted, "Let's go crazy." The band exploded into the opening song. Guitars screamed, drums thundered, pyro blasted into the air. The entire arena shook as if the earth itself were reacting to the music. But behind the stage, something else was happening. In the shadows of the backstage hallway, Ace Frehley, guitar legend, former KISS superstar, and Ozzy's longtime friend, warmed up his fingers. He was scheduled to walk out later as a surprise guest. Only a handful of people knew. The plan was simple: blow the audience's mind. Ace smirked as he heard the crowd losing their minds. "They're not ready for what's coming," he whispered to himself, tuning his guitar one last time. Meanwhile, out in the sea of fans, the camera phones were already raised high. People sang, people screamed, people jumped in unison. A massive wave of human energy, but there was one person in the crowd who wasn't celebrating. A lone fan, hoodie pulled tight, face half covered, was pushing through the audience with an intensity that didn't match the joyful chaos around him. People cursed as he shoved past them, ignoring every attempt to slow him down. Security noticed the aggressive behavior. One guard leaned to another and said, "Keep an eye on that guy. Something feels off." But with thousands of people packed shoulder to shoulder, keeping track was nearly impossible. On stage, Ozzy leaned toward the audience, completely unaware of the danger growing beneath the lights. He laughed, splashed water on fans, and let out his iconic shriek, sending everyone into a frenzy. The music was loud, the lights were blinding, the energy was electric, but buried inside that electric energy was the beginning of something no one expected, and what happened next would shock the entire arena. The arena was exploding with energy, lights flashed in rapid beams, smoke rolled across the floor, and the roar of thousands of fans blended with the thunder of guitars echoing off the walls. Ozzy Osbourne's voice carried through the stadium like electricity, sending waves of excitement rippling through the massive crowd. But in the middle of all that chaos and celebration, standing under the spotlight, the fan's breathing was heavy, frantic. He muttered under his breath, words no one could fully understand over the music, but one thing was clear: he wasn't there to enjoy the concert. He was moving with purpose. Dangerous purpose. Up on stage, Ozzy had no idea what was happening below. He was in his element, stomping across the stage, flipping his mic, screaming lyrics with wild passion. The crowd's cheers only got louder. Backstage, Ace Frehley was warming up, guitar strapped over his shoulder. He was supposed to join Ozzy for a surprise mid-show performance, a moment fans would remember forever. But Ace felt something else, a strange tension in the air. He peeked out from behind the curtain. Security guards were rushing toward the barricade near the front. The crowd seemed to be reacting to something, pointing, yelling, moving back. Ace narrowed his eyes. "What the hell is going on out there?" he murmured. On the arena floor, the aggressive fan shoved against the metal barricade, grabbing it with both hands. His nails scraped against the steel as he pulled himself up and over in one sudden, crazed movement. People screamed. Security lunged, but it was too late. The man hit the ground running, straight toward the stage. Ozzy continued singing, unaware of the danger, inches away from unfolding. The spotlights cut across the stage, and for a split second, one of them illuminated the rushing figure climbing onto the platform. Gasps erupted, phones shot into the air, screaming filled the arena. People in the front row yelled, "Security, stop him. Oh my God, he's going for Ozzy." Upstage, Ace Frehley froze for half a heartbeat. His instincts screamed at him. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. Through the blinding lights and smoke, he could see a shadowy shape rushing toward Ozzy while the music blared on, drowning out the panic below. Ace stepped forward, eyes wide. "No, not tonight," he whispered. He threw down his water bottle, tightened his grip on his guitar strap, and broke into a sprint toward the stage entrance. The tension was no longer just rising. It was seconds away from exploding. Engagement break. Have you ever been to a live concert? Comment below where you're watching this from. The US, UK, Philippines, India, Canada, Australia, or anywhere else in the world. The stadium was electric. The crowd was roaring. Ozzy Osbourne stood at the very edge of the stage, microphone raised, delivering one of the most powerful high notes of the night. Lights strobed in red and white flashes behind him, casting long shadows across the sea of cheering fans. But in Section C, deep in the crowd, something was wrong. A disturbance formed like a ripple in water. People turned, shoved, recoiled. A man with wild eyes and sweat dripping down his face was forcing his way through, pushing people aside as if possessed by some chaotic energy. "Hey, watch it," someone yelled, but the man didn't listen. He didn't see anyone, didn't hear anything. His eyes were locked, not on the band, not on the stage, but on Ozzy. Security at the barricade signaled to each other. They could see the man now, moving faster, more aggressively. Gasps tore through the arena. The band's guitarist missed a note. One of the backup singers froze mid-lyric. Ozzy turned, and for a split second, time slowed. The fan hit the stage hard, stumbled, then sprang up again with a strange, frantic intensity. His arms were outstretched, his hand shaking, his voice cracking with emotion or rage. No one could tell. Ozzy, he screamed, not like a fan, not like someone excited, but like someone unhinged. Ozzy's eyes widened. He took a half step back, nearly losing his balance on a monitor speaker. The man lunged forward. The audience shrieked. Some people ducked, others backed away from the barricade. Phones shot upward like a forest of antennas, recording every second. Security? Security, someone shouted. But security was far too far. The attacker sprinted across the stage, feet pounding the wooden floor. His expression was wild, desperate, and the spotlight hitting his face made him look even more unhinged. Ozzy tried to move, but decades of stage pyrotechnics, wires, monitors, and platforms trapped him in a small space. He couldn't run, he couldn't dodge. The man was only a few feet away now. Ozzy lifted his hands in instinctive defense. For the first time in decades, Ozzy Osbourne was truly vulnerable on stage. The rapper of the drums stopped. The bass dropped out. Even the people in the nosebleeds could feel the tension like electricity. Stop him. A text screamed from behind the curtain, but it was too late. Ace raised a hand lightly, as if to say, "You okay, brother?" Ozzy nodded, breathing hard. The crowd erupted into applause so loud it shook the entire venue. This wasn't just a concert anymore. This was a moment of pure, raw rock and roll history, where instinct, courage, and loyalty collided on stage in front of thousands. And Ace Frehley, he had just entered like a hero. For a split second, the arena seemed frozen in time. He shouted over the noise. Ace didn't look up. "I'm good, just get back." The attacker continued struggling, but Ace kept one hand firmly on his shoulder, the other gripping the wrist to prevent another swing. When the man finally tired out, security officers moved in, grabbing his legs and torso. "On three," Ace said, voice calm but commanding. 1, 2, 3. They lifted the attacker off the ground, dragging him toward the backstage exit as the arena roared with applause. And only now did Ace finally stand up. "You saved my damn life, mate," he shouted, before throwing his arms around him in a rare, emotional hug. Ace laughed, a little breathless from the adrenaline. "I saw him coming. Couldn't let him turn you into Ozzy Osbourne," Ace joked, the entire arena bursting into laughter. The band members rushed over. The drummer slapped Ace's shoulder. The bassist kept repeating, "Dude, dude," in disbelief. Even the stage crew, battle-hardened by years of wild concerts, shook their heads in admiration. A stagehand handed Ozzy his mic, but his hands were trembling too much to hold it. Ace leaned in close. "You good to continue?" he asked quietly. Ozzy nodded, inhaled deeply, then stepped forward to the edge of the stage. The crowd waited, breath held. Ozzy raised the mic. "You all just saw something incredible," he said, voice steadying. Tonight, Ace Frehley didn't just come to play. He came to save rock and roll. The arena exploded. Lights blasted. Guitars screamed. Fans chanted Ace's name like a battle cry. And Ace, he simply adjusted his guitar strap, gave Ozzy a small nod, and said, "Let's finish the show." Ozzy grinned wide. "Hell yeah, we will." As the music kicked back in and the arena shook with energy again, one thing became crystal clear to every single person in the audience. Tonight, Ace Frehley wasn't just a rock star. He was a hero. Backstage was absolute chaos. The moment Ace Frehley and Ozzy Osbourne were escorted behind the curtains, security slammed the doors shut. A thick tension filled the room as crew members, stage managers, and bandmates rushed toward them, all talking at once. Ozzy was breathing heavily, his hands still trembling not from fear, but from the shock of what almost happened. A second later, Ace appeared beside him, steady as a rock, wiping sweat from his forehead after wrestling the attacker to the ground. Ozzy looked at Ace, eyes wide, voice cracking with emotion. "Ace, mate, you saved my life out there." Ace tried to brush it off with a half smile. "Come on, Ozzy. I wasn't about to let some maniac tackle you in front of 20,000 people," but despite the casual joke, everyone could tell Ace had been shaken too. Moments like that don't happen at concerts. They're not supposed to. A medic approached quickly, checking Ozzy for injuries. "Are you hurt anywhere? Any dizziness? Any bruising?" Ozzy waved him away. "I'm fine, really. Just need a minute." Meanwhile, security officers gathered in a tight circle discussing the attacker. One of them finally stepped over to the group. The suspect broke through 2 barricades, snuck under a technician platform, and climbed a lighting rig to get backstage access to the edge of the crowd. "We're reviewing camera footage now." Ace raised an eyebrow. "So he'd been planning this." "Looks that way," the guard replied. "We still don't know what his intentions were, but it wasn't good." Another shiver passed through the room. Ozzy sank into a chair, elbows on his knees, letting the adrenaline slowly drain away. Ace grabbed a bottle of water and handed it to him. "You know," Ozzy said quietly, staring at the floor, "I've had crazy fans my whole career, but that one, I didn't even see him coming." Ace sat beside him. That's why you've got people watching your back. Ozzy looked up at him. I owe you, brother. Ace shook his head. You don't owe me a damn thing. We're rock and roll family. That's how it works. Just then, the band burst into the room, guitarists, drummers, tech crawl, crowding around Ozzy and Ace in relief. Some clapped Ace on the back, others hugged Ozzy, grateful nothing worse had happened. Man, Ace, you flew across that stage like a superhero. One guitarist laughed. Another added, dude, the internet is exploding. Fans got the whole thing on video. Sure enough, a stage assistant rushed over with a tablet. Look at this. It's already everywhere. The clip showed Ace's dramatic sprint, the tackle interception, and the crowd roaring in shock and admiration. It had thousands of shares within minutes. Ozzy let out a wheezing laugh. Well, I'll be damned. Ace Frehley trending higher than me tonight. Ace smirked. Maybe I should start charging for security services. Despite the humor, the reality was clear. Something terrifying had happened on stage. Something that could have gone horribly wrong, and Ace had prevented it with seconds to spare. Before heading back out to reassure the fans, Ozzy stood, placed a hand on Ace's shoulder, and said firmly, You didn't just save my show. You saved me. Ace nodded, finally accepting the gravity of the moment. Backstage fell quiet for a moment of brotherhood, gratitude, and the unspoken awareness that the night could be ended far differently if Ace hadn't acted when he did. Ozzy looked around and took a deep breath. All right, he said, let's go tell our fans we're okay. They deserve that much. And with Ace by his side, he walked back toward the stage alive, grateful, and ready to face a roaring crowd that had just witnessed the most shocking moment of the entire tour. The chaos of the night had finally settled, but the world was only beginning to react. What happened on that stage wasn't just another concert incident. It was a moment that captured the raw heart of rock and roll. Danger, loyalty, adrenaline, and brotherhood. And within hours, it exploded across the internet. A fan's shaky smartphone video surfaced first, then another, then 100 more. Clips from every angle flooded social media. One showed the attacker sprinting toward Ozzy. Another showed Ozzy stumbling backward, almost losing his footing. But the clip that went viral worldwide, the one that ignited millions of views, was the moment Ace Frehley charged in from the side of the stage like a bolt of lightning. People typed in disbelief. Did Ace Frehley just save Ozzy's life? This is the most insane thing I've ever seen at a concert. Rock legends protecting rock legends. What a moment. Within 24 hours, the hashtag Ace Saved Ozzy trended in over 20 countries. Rock fans, casual fans, even people who didn't know either musician were sharing the clip. News outlets picked it up. Late-night talk shows replayed it. Podcasters debated whether Ace's reflexes came from years of stage presence or pure instinct. But the true beauty of the moment wasn't the spectacle, it was what came after. Backstage, Ace and Ozzy shared a quiet moment away from the cameras. Two legends, battered by decades of wild tours, personal struggles, triumphs, and tragedies, sat next to each other like old brothers. Ozzy placed a hand on Ace's shoulder and said, in a voice hoarse with emotion, Ace, you didn't just save me out there. You showed the world what loyalty really looks like. Ace simply shrugged, flashing a humble smile. We look out for each other. That's what this life is about. The sincerity of that exchange resonated with fans when the story leaked. In a world so often filled with conflict and ego, two rock icons choosing brotherhood and protection struck deep. Soon, major music magazines released covers titled, The Night Ace Became a Hero, Rock Protects Its Own, a legendary save for a legendary voice. Interviews poured in. Promoters thanked Ace publicly. Ozzy's team released a heartfelt statement honoring Ace for his courage. Even musicians from rival bands posted messages of respect. And what about the fan who attacked? He was taken into custody and evaluated for mental stress issues. But instead of anger or revenge, both Ace and Ozzy encouraged compassion, saying the man needed help, not hate. Their response won even more admiration from fans who saw not only bravery, but humanity. As days turned into weeks, the clip cemented itself in rock history. Fans rewatched it again and again, calling it the most intense concert moment ever caught on video. Even younger audiences, unfamiliar with the legendary careers of Ozzy and Ace, became curious, discovering their music, learning their stories, and becoming new fans. And in the end, what truly made the moment unforgettable wasn't just the danger, or the drama, or the rescue. It was the message. True legends don't just make music. They protect each other. They stand up when it matters most. And they leave behind moments the world never forgets. So if you believe Ace Frehley proved what real loyalty looks like, type rock legend in the comments. And subscribe for more epic, real, and unbelievable stories from the world of rock and roll.